Hey, welcome back to the stream, everybody. I've got Tuco right here. He seems to be in a pretty chill mood. Looks like we are live on the usual places. Twitch.tv/scanlime and the Scanlime-in-progress YouTube channel. And the direct stream over at live.diode.zone/scanlime. Those all seem to be operating. So today's stream was just going to be a bit more kind of chill programming, co-working, working on Rust coding. This is on the sort of weird project that I've been doing lately, both as a kind of sub-project for this decentralized video thing, but also just as a way to get more familiar with parts of Rust that I've not really gotten a chance to play around with outside this. So it's sort of a sandbox / container runtime. It's designed to be very simple and embeddable into other Rust programs. So I'm planning on using it for multimedia transcodes within this streaming media server project that I'm working on separately. Welcome to chat, everybody. Just having a chill moment with Tuco here, but then the project is in a very similar spot to where we left it last. On the last project stream, I was just starting some sort of big refactoring, mostly in the name of trying to get support for, just like full support for dynamically linked binaries in here. So one of the pieces necessary to get that going is I just need to make my ELF binary loader a little bit nicer and have it be able to deal with some pieces coming from the interpreter binary and some pieces coming from the binary that we're planning on loading. And the data types were just all messy. It was just a bunch of like raw uints or raw usizes or whatever, and like calculations on page numbers and page offsets and whatever, and just really messy and error prone, and starts to get me frustrated when I have to come up with all these different names for very similar concepts. Like I have all these different ways of representing a memory address. Is this the virtual address? Is this the page rounded virtual address? Is this the padded virtual address? Is this the file offset? So that seems like something where Rust's type system should really be helping us out more. So I've been trying to figure out how to rearrange some of these data types to get just like a nicer environment for dealing with weird low-level memory stuff like this. And I got further in that refactoring off-stream between then and now, but it's still kind of a big mess, and I still kind of need to just dive in and hack on it a bit. But right now I've got a chill cat in my lap. Oh man, I've been feeling just extra cranky around the holidays. I feel like some of it is just like a reaction to generally having this like weird little community of internet people that I interact with, and how that's, I don't know, it's like often pretty great, and I've always been thankful that I have like people that I know on the internet, but it's also I don't know, just it's like frustrating when it feels like the world of computer fandom is kind of inescapable if I want any social interaction whatsoever. So that's kind of annoying. And then, I don't know, think about family and the past and stuff a lot around the holidays, because this is not a time that's like super meaningful to me now, but it has a lot of memory associated with it still. Oh, Tuco is so chill. I don't think you're getting a full appreciation for how chill this cat is right now. Oh yeah, I should explain the background. This is just my studio green screen, but the background loop I have on there is a time-lapse recording from my old building, the concrete box that I did so many of my projects in. Oh, Tuco is so good. I have a better camera. I might be able to get on him. I don't want to disturb this situation. Whoa. Oh no. Oh no. Hey Tuco, do you just want to change positions? Was I disturbing you with all of the fussing? You just want to get up. Cat shoulders. You want to? Alright, well that was fun while it lasted. Try to get this readjusted. I wanted to have a limited amount of green screen in this room. I actually have a bunch of extra green screen paint because they accidentally sent me more than I ordered, and I probably ordered too much to begin with. But then I think I'd have even more of a color spill problem if I just painted the whole wall green. I wonder if I could paint the whole wall green and then just fill the room with yellow lights or something and somehow balance it out. I think Tuco wants to explore the coldness right here, which I wouldn't actually mind right at the moment. Hey Tuco. I put this little soft thing here. I wonder if he'll use it or if he'll avoid the soft thing. Tuco, you can sit on this. Is he gonna try to sit on top of it instead? Tuco. Aw. I don't think he knows he can sit on that. My housemate and I kind of swapped rooms, and I think they've got the heat cranked up because it's colder in this part of the house. I don't really mind the cold though. I just don't want to blow my energy bill. It's weird though. I feel guilty about using a bunch of gas heat, but the gas is actually pretty cheap here, so it's like I usually don't have nearly as much of a worry about the gas bill as I do the electric bill. Yeah, right. Mr. Radar says to put a heater in this bed here, and Tuco will figure it out. Yeah, probably. Maybe I'll just put it on top of one of these other heated pads. He'd probably sit under it in that case. Okay, Tuco, this was nice for a minute, but now it's actually getting cold. Oh, Tuco. Maybe I can move the camera and get a better view of Tuco without getting in the way of me sitting down all the time. Wow, is the camera already overheating? Do I believe that? That isn't extremely less in the way, but... Can I close this a little? Oh. Tuco. Maybe I can do the split screen again. This is a little distracting. It's cold and this position is kind of awkward. But Tuco is important. Alright, this is the kind of main piece of code that started really frustrating me. Just trying to deal with the differences between the actual loadable segments described in an ELF file and the resulting memory maps that we have to create after some of these adjustments. And this is like annoying enough as it is, but then when I started trying to get this to work with dynamically loaded or dynamically linked binaries with an interpreter, like I think I just wanted to be able to refer to like segments in a particular binary, and so I wanted to have, I don't know, just like a nicer object model for representing memory segments and individual loadable binaries. And so I've been cleaning this up a bunch, and the code that I've got in my repo now doesn't look a whole lot like that right now. To go. Maybe I can close this more and then move the camera. To go. Maybe I'll just put on a jacket and not worry about the energy bill. Brr. Cat channel. There's not a lot of places to put my input devices that are not in the way of the camera right now. Oh gosh, same cat time, same cat channel. That is a level of consistency I aspire to. This tripod is a bit adjustable. Oh, this actually has more tallness than I realized. Oh, Tuco's doing a great job being a cat. Ugh. Is this workable? Do I still have the AI cat tracker thing? I have the parts for it, but it's not hooked up right now because I don't really have the kind of space that it was designed for. But yeah, at some point I might try to adapt it to work with different spaces. Just right now I don't have like a giant ceiling for it to winch itself along. All right. try to make this a mostly chill stream and not worry too much about filling the air with noise constantly, but if anybody has like questions or wants to chat about something specific, I'd love to engage in conversation. That's right. So I was talking about this in the last stream on this project. The loader was this abstraction where I thought it was useful to have a fairly restrictive interface that the binary loader used to interface with the rest of this sort of kernel-like environment. But that didn't really seem to be helping much, and I think really instead I need mostly just have some better data types that compose with the pieces that we already have available, like the stopped task and the various memory types. Oh, that's an interesting question. Exabean wants to know what my favorite embedded project I worked on was. They only remember the Siftio cubes, and they're curious what else I worked on. What else did I work on that I liked? I mean, I've done some like random like contract jobs where I wasn't like working on, I'd have like a job doing like one little piece of a particular project, like like a font for this thing, or like a font renderer, or like an audio driver or whatever. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I haven't had that many like giant projects. Like the Siftio cubes were definitely up there in terms of the scale of stuff that I've worked on. I mean, how many times do you get to make an entire platform basically from the tiniest pieces available? So yeah, I mean, the cubes are interesting. I mean, I did a bunch of other like projects that were not for my day job that I felt like were pretty interesting. I haven't actually had like a huge number of projects where it was like an electronics or embedded thing that I was doing for my main job. Most of the stuff that I've done has been like personal projects. Or if you're thinking about embedded, like the Blu-ray drive thing was a project that I did kind of like early in my recent cycle of trying to like do these video blogs. And then what else? I had this really long-term project from when I was much younger that was like making an embedded Linux handheld computer. Oh, sorry, I messed up the focus. Is that microphone in the way? Yes, okay. I was thinking about the DSI reverse engineering stuff a bit recently, because that was a pretty big embedded project I did. That was one that I had fond memories of for a while. I don't think I would do something like that again, because like now I know that the video game reverse engineering community is not really worth being a part of. But like for a while I was intrigued by it, and I thought the technology was interesting. I didn't really care that much about the people who were working on it. Yeah, but I don't know. I have a hard time like mustering a whole bunch of positive feelings about individual projects, because I feel like most of them were like not actually that great in hindsight. But I'm in a really negative mood today, so maybe this is not the time to be asking me about which projects I liked the most. I mean, I'm happy to keep talking. It's just the answer might be everything is terrible. Oh yeah, cats are not terrible. That's an important point, Alexis. Yeah, Tuco's great. Like, I feel like I've had a lot of these projects where I get excited about trying a thing because it's like new and I don't know that it sucks yet. And then I'll do it for a while and then realize, oh, this is actually really bad. I just want to get as far away from this as possible. And I feel like I've been doing that a bunch over the course of my life. Oh gosh, Christian wants more details on the Linux handheld stuff. They have good, fond memories of the Scion and the HP Jornada. Gosh, I was kind of deep in that world for a while. I mean, this is when I was just like a kid, a high schooler basically, and like I didn't have money to buy a whole bunch of stuff. I had an allowance from my parents, and I would save that up to buy stuff sometimes. I think mostly the way I financed my early embedded Linux habit, though, was I got some companies to pay me to write code when I was like in high school. Um, and I had a couple of like contract jobs to make pieces for this embedded Linux GUI thing that I, because like I don't know, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I mean, part of my motivation was I was intrigued by all these like handheld computers. Like I would see these computer magazines at grocery stores that had like shiny Windows CE handhelds on them or whatever. They were all super expensive. Um, my mom was a elementary school teacher, and I saw some of the stuff that like she had, but it was all like like maybe they had a couple of these like little portable word processors for the classroom, or they had some Macs in the library that kids could borrow. And I just um so I didn't have like an embedded handheld like one of those fancy ones. I had the thing that I started using that I thought was pretty cool was I got a laptop, just like a junk laptop from, I think it was like one of my mom's coworkers had a spare laptop that was both old and broken, and so she gave it to me just to play with or whatever, and I fixed it up. Like it needed some new like battery cells and a rebuilt power supply and some like new software, but I got it working. And so I did that a couple of times. I ended up refurbing this. That was like it had no hard drive. It was like a black and white LCD laptop with like floppy disk storage, and the batteries were completely toast. So I remember going to a surplus electronics store and finding these cheap NiCad cells, because of course it was all NiCad then, and then like conditioning and balancing them myself so that I could rebuild a new battery pack. And I mean, I didn't really know what I was doing. It was all terrible, but at least, I was reasonably good at making stuff that didn't burst into flames after, my first couple of problems with that. I had a really good memory as a kid of building something that involved a lead acid battery and this really flimsy like RJ11 style connector that I was using for power. And of course, at some point, the RJ11 connector shorts out, and I didn't have a fuse in there, so the RJ11 connector becomes the fuse. I made sure to explicitly put a fuse in everything after that. But that laptop, I ended up giving that one to somebody who was a friend at the time. They ended up replacing the battery pack again because they had some problems with the one I built after using it for a while. But they didn't put a fuse back in. And so one day in physics class, this kid's laptop just starts smoking because of the rebuilt battery pack shorting out. That was kind of funny. We were all a little bit concerned. I gave him hell for not putting a fuse in that thing when he rebuilt it. But then I got this, gosh, this was a weird machine. I think it was like Canon branded because it had a Canon inkjet printer in it, but it was actually some other like OEM brand laptop. It was a 386 with 8 megs of memory. And I remember getting that one on eBay for, I think it was like $20 or something. It was ridiculously cheap because it said in big letters like does not work, for parts. But then I get it and it turns out to be a really simple power supply issue. Like I think it just had some mechanical damage and it needed it just needed a power brick. It just didn't have a power brick. And so I got like a surplus power supply from a catalog and put it in a new enclosure and wired it up to give me the right voltage. I mean, so that was what kind of inspired me was like I had these like weird old fixed up laptops that I was running Slackware on and LaTeX, and and then I got into Palm Pilots. I I saved up a bunch of my allowance and contracting money, and I bought, I think it was like $300 at the time. It was like a Palm 3, 68 easy through 28 processor, like a couple of megabytes of memory total, I think. Um, it was kind of ridiculous. Like, it was a ridiculous thing at that point. But I found it really inspiring. It was like the first time I'd had a portable, like a really portable computer. You could like put it in your pocket and like type notes on it or whatever. Um, I got pretty good at the kind of specialized handwriting recognition that they used, and it really messed up my handwriting for the rest of my life. Like all the letters that I draw are a little bit shaped like the Palm Pilot graffiti letters now. Um, So then I think it was after that point where I had experimented both with the cheap refurb laptops and the Palm Pilot that I saved up for. And then I was like, this is great. Everybody needs this. And of course, I didn't really understand any of the realities of like economics or manufacturing or whatever. But I did understand that these things were made out of simple parts, and the parts were much cheaper than what they were charging. And I could probably design something that has sort of affordability and accessibility as goals. Of course, I didn't understand what any of that would actually mean to do in a really practical sense, but that was my motivation to basically have an embedded Linux project to try to design a cheap, um, basically like a little word processor machine that high school students or whoever could use. It was, I mean, in hindsight, it seems a lot like kind of a OLPC kind of project, like one laptop per child. Except I was trying to use significantly simpler components. It was basically whatever I could find cheap in like surplus catalogs, and I think DigiKey was still a thing back there. You know, I was using DigiKey already at that point. So yeah, it was actually the same processor a lot of the Palm Pilots use. It's the Motorola 68 EZ 328, which is basically a system on chip. It was one of the first system on chips that I'd seen, because they actually included things like an LCD controller and a DRAM controller on the same chip. You didn't have to have those separately like before, which was cool. So a lot of what I was doing was just having my first experience at doing a surface mount PC board for a system on chip, which was, it was like a relatively simple system on chip. It only needed like 3.3 volts, and I think it only needed 3.3 volts actually, and you know, it had needed like some external analog parts for a VC or a PLL, but you know, it was relatively simple. But I made so many mistakes. Like I used the wrong footprint for the DRAM, and then I had to like wire up the DRAM with 30 gauge wire after the fact. I didn't include enough decoupling capacitors on the flash, and so I had to debug bit errors coming through like from my, and so I had to write a bootloader to test all this, because like I didn't have any software. So I wrote, there was some kind of ROM based loader, so I didn't have to start from JTAG, because like I didn't have any development tools. So one of the appeals of this chip was that it had built-in ROM bootloader. You could just connect the serial port, and then in this case, I wrote a Python program or something that would talk to its serial port protocol and do the initial bootstrapping. But then you pretty quickly wanted to run some local code, you know, download an actual bootloader into RAM. So I was working on that kind of stuff. I guess Tuco's not into this anymore. And that project just kept spiraling out. Like that really led to me developing not only this like prototype little 68,000 Linux computer thing, but also I wanted to make a GUI for it that was, you know, I had this idea that I wanted something that could scale up and down to different size computers. Like you could write a program once and then run it on this handheld thing or run it on a full-size computer, and it could be like using the same GUI framework. You didn't have to rewrite something for like Palm OS or like desktop Linux or whatever. So that turned into this whole separate project, Pico GUI, which had some weird architectural decisions. Like this was designed mostly to run on embedded Linux machines with pretty tight memory constraints and without necessarily any virtual memory hardware. So I designed it to be practical to implement without dynamically loadable libraries or shared libraries. So you could just statically link a very small like communications stub thing into your programs, and then they would all talk to this central UI server that actually implemented the widget toolkit and the drivers and everything else. That was just a whole big thing though. Like I learned a lot doing it, but it was really, really time consuming. Like I spent years of my life doing that and it wasn't actually useful. Oh, I need to lower this completely to see Tuco. Yeah, the robot was nice because I didn't have to undo like 18,000 latches to move the tripod from position to position. Tuco's like, what is going on? Yeah, man, I mean, I don't know. It's just the past, right? I don't like to reminisce about the past too much, but I seem to be stuck in that mood today anyway. The screenshots kind of give you an idea of like what this was intended for. Where are some of my first couple? Oh yeah, this is the resolution of the screen that I had for that handheld. The Kiwi project. This is not a web page anymore. Oh well. I think I still have some photos of it on Flickr. Yeah. I took a picture of this on my mom's like weird shiny tablecloth. Oh, Tuco, you want to be over there again? You just make me follow you everywhere, honey. Yeah, maybe we should do some work on trying to get the Tuco flyer adapted to this space, because that seems like it would be useful. Tuco. You just want that open again? Honey, it's cold. This is just awkward when he puts me right between him and the camera. Aiden's wondering if I ever program with music on. Sometimes. Hey, Tuco. Tuco, do you want to hang out up here? Whoa, cat. Cat butt. As soon as I get this on Tuco, he's gonna move. Unless I open the door, and then it's just gonna be cold. We're just gonna be doing this again. Meow. There's a comment that they've been watching a lot of electronic stuff on YouTube lately, and it's given them an itch to get into the hobby. I mean, it's funny. I can understand that, I guess, but that's certainly not my feel when I watch electronic stuff on YouTube. When I watch electronic stuff on YouTube, I mostly just want to throw all of YouTube into a fire. Cat butt. Hmm. Maybe that's an angle where I won't constantly be getting in the way. Tuco. I don't think that's something I want to do. Tuco, you really want that, huh? Has Tuco figured out door handles? It's a good question. He seems to understand them to some extent. I don't know how much motivation he has to actually turn them at this point. Gosh, this is terrible. We can't see Tuco and it's cold. Ah, my coffee's full of coffee grounds. Gross. Crunchy. So far we've got missing cat and crunchy coffee. This is a great stream. I feel like half the battle in this is just finding good names for everything. So I've got the idea of a kernel mem something or other, which is related to the actual host kernel. And then I've got more generic pieces inside that, like mem area and mem pages. And so previous to this change, something like a mem area would have just been a couple of U sizes, and a mem page would have just been, or mem pages would have been a couple of U sizes. I'm trying to make this a type which enforces some preconditions. So if it's mem pages, you know it's page aligned. And you can make a page-aligned thing by rounding a non-page-aligned thing, or by parsing it to enforce that it is page-aligned already. And this is kind of weird, because like really these are two ranges. But it's redundant to specify the size of both of them, because they have to be the same size. Brr. Oh, Tuco. He's just sitting in a great spot for not being on camera. Oh, I should use the other explicitly cat-related camera. Oh, are you moving? Maybe he's done with that anyway. I've got some more cameras I could set up. This is just the nicest one. Oh, Tuco. Tuco's a great cat. He's part American curl and part Bengal, and he's got polydactyl toes. I got Tuco through the same process that I got a bunch of bad memories of San Francisco and the people in it. It's kind of weird. He is quite a little tiger. Okay, some of this stuff I'm relatively happy with, but that segment thing needs redoing, and I don't like mapped range at all. And mapped range and mapped pages both need methods. Don't super like that either. Maybe that should be... I mean, I feel like that could be an associated type if this was a trait, but I don't think I can do that with a struct. Oh. I don't totally know if this is what I want, the implementing deref on mem pages with target mem range. Like this, my understanding of the deref trait is that it, in many cases, lets you automatically convert, for example, mem pages into mem range. I don't know if that works for methods and for like member values. Because like range, you normally wouldn't call methods on it to get the start and the end. Those would just be member values. So I think that still works, but I'm unsure about that right now. Have not fully tried compiling this yet. It's still kind of a hack and slash refactor in process. Well, maybe I will leave it like that. File start. Don't know that there's actually a better name for that. It's like tempting to implement accessors that give me things like a file range, but actually I don't even know what I need from this yet. Oh, that's what I was going to do. I was going to implement mapped pages further and then use that in the kernel memory area. Oh, right. I hadn't decided whether... Yeah, where that goes. I had that offset as part of the kernel memory source. I don't think that's actually right. This could just be a tuple of 2 U sizes. Let's just not even have that. I don't know if I should be getting more specific about the types for the device and inode. I have my own types for those for the wire protocol, but like I think here in the kernel memory area, I mostly want to be treating these as opaque tokens that I can compare, but I don't actually need to constrain the range of them at all. Doesn't make more sense for the offset to be next to the memory range than next to the like inode and stuff. Pages, protection, name, and then device and inode. No, I'm not in San Francisco. Ah, thank goodness. I'm pretty glad to be out of San Francisco. Yeah, maybe I should just be luring in viewers with my San Francisco programming and then turn everyone into communists. Clearly, that's what I should just do. You're on to me. I'm going to need to implement a few more operators for these v pointers. I think I've got add usize. I might want like add isize. I might want sub. I just want to treat that like a mem range. Maybe I'll just see where the compile errors are at this point. I'm sure there are plenty. I do need something like that type, though. Should probably go in this file. There's a question, do I still have a 3D printer? Yes. One of the concepts that I want that I'm still not really sure what to pick out of that to implement is something that can represent a region of memory either as a page aligned or unpage aligned. So like the idea is with these ELF segments, you have this thing which is nominally like at whatever address you want, at whatever size, but then to represent that as a virtual memory space, you have to page align it. But then you can keep track of the difference between the page aligned region and the region you actually wanted. I mean, you only need to store the actual region, but you can have accessors that use the page aligned version. Yeah. Maybe I just store the range and use round out in a bunch of places. So this segment is trying to represent something that can consist of both a mapped region and a potentially larger anonymous region. It would be simpler to just split them up into a mapped region and a separate anonymous region, but the boundary between those can lie within a page. Oh yeah, Laura's ahead of me. Maybe they were asking if I needed to store the page line values or just compute them in accessors. Yeah, almost certainly the latter. Like I could just make this whole segment thing a trait and then like not even convert the values from the elf header, but just access the elf header. I don't know if it's worth going to that extreme though. I think it'd be easiest to have all these types be relatively simple. I think this is fine. Kernel memory, yeah. I wonder if this dynamic or static offset stuff should be outside the ELF specific code also. Yeah, this is closer to what I was getting stuck on that caused me to go down this path. Um, so I've got all this logic for mapping PT load sections and aligning them properly, and I want to be able to use that same code for PT interp sections, even though it's effectively just a thing that I need to temporarily map to read a string out. Folks in chat are analyzing my breathing now. That's cool. Yeah, this stuff is all bad. I don't know if there's a good reason for me to track this offset separately, or if I can just like make an operator so I can add offsets directly to a segment or something. I guess for mapping that interp section, for example, I would want to always map it to a dynamic address. Yeah, this is annoying. Like with the dynamic offset stuff. So if I have a memory range or like a mapped range, not page aligned, and I want that range to be at an arbitrary address or an offset address, either of those might change the page alignment. And so uh, and like, so if I pick a new address and then update the range and then round it, I could just keep I could keep doing that. Like that would be fine. But if I'm trying to actually place the pages at an arbitrary address, then it's more like I need to, I need to remember the offset between the pointer that I wanted in the beginning of the page, but then the actual page that I get could be wherever. I think a lot of the Linux code handles that effectively by just using 0 as an address that means wherever, and then you can relocate the page to 0 and then move it from 0 to wherever you actually calculated it goes after the mmap. Yeah, I feel like these need to be done at the segment level. So like maybe segment has methods to move it to a particular page aligned address or to a particular non-page aligned address. So I think it's position independent code. We would end up wanting to like add a specific offset to multiple segments. If it's like a temporary mapping, like this interp segment, then do we want arbitrary addresses to be a special concept? Yeah, it feels like I could move the segment's page to a particular address, that address then being 0, then map it, and then add whatever my actual address ends up being. part of me that wants to make invalid states unrepresentable doesn't like having two start addresses here that should be the same. gosh, the types I'm using here kind of make sense internally, but they don't really make sense for a constructor interface. But then, like, I don't really like having a constructor that's just a bunch of U sizes either. Oh, Tuco. There's a question, do I enjoy this? That's a weird question. Am I supposed to? Cats are pretty great. I don't want that at all. Maybe I will just make these public. Laura's wondering if it's okay to have file sizes as U size and not something bigger. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't really care about supporting 32-bit architectures, or I might explicitly say U64 for files, but in this case I'm assuming pointers are going to be that big anyway. Maybe I'll just access that directly, fine. Gosh, this is when I want a type that's just a single page aligned pointer, and I don't even have that right now. The editor for centrists? Where would you have gotten the impression that I'm a centrist? Do I feel more productive live streaming or less productive? I mean, what do you mean by productive? I feel like live streaming is what I'm supposed to be doing, and coding is a thing that I like to do by myself. But when I'm coding by myself, I feel like I'm neglecting my actual job since this is what people want. Do I feel like I produce better quality code on a live stream? I mean, I feel like the code that I would end up at is roughly similar whether I'm streaming or not. It's certainly harder to stream and write code because I'm dealing with all of this interaction at the same time, but my main response to that is that it's if you're worried about code quality, you're probably worried about the wrong things. Like you probably need to take a step back and examine what went wrong to lead you to care about code quality as or like productivity in these cases. Like what are we actually trying to do here? Are we trying to be monkeys that turn coffee into JavaScript or are we trying to do something worthwhile with our lives? Just to be clear, I don't think this is actually worthwhile. I just think it's a thing that I'm capable of doing that some people seem to want, which is like what passes for an okay job these days. I warned you all I'm in a pretty negative mood, but I'm trying to be real here too. The other thing is, I guess when I'm live streaming, I don't feel as free to like take breaks and work on a different thing. Like often if I was trying to figure out how to architect something like this, I wouldn't really need to be staring at the text editor to do it. I would like need to load the problem into my head and then maybe do something different, like make some food or take a shower or something. Oh, I see. So Aiden was maybe getting at how if I'm streaming, maybe I write better code because people will look at it. I don't think that's really how I operate. I feel like um, I don't know. I've always had other factors that compelled me to write code that I like looking at and that I want people to look at. Usually that I've always published my code, and so I mean, sure, I've got plenty of like little throwaway pieces of junk code that I don't care about, but like most of the time when I'm writing some code in the open source domain, I want it to be something that's kind of nice to look at because I don't want to feel bad about myself when I think about my code. And so it's kind of an abusive relationship between me and my code, but that's how it often works. But yeah, I feel like streaming doesn't really change that aspect for me. I mean, people are going to look at my code or not, regardless of whether I stream. Memprotect. Let's change some of these other things. I guess the other thing about a big hack and slash refactor is there's always a bunch of kind of relatively unrelated stuff I can just pound on the keyboard to fix while I'm thinking about the big problems. being able to publish code without it being kind of a performance would be so freeing. Yeah, I feel that. It kind of reminds me of, I don't know, I was doing a bunch of like navel gazy thinking about the past and feeling sad and all that lately, mostly on the account of holidays. But one of the random things that came to me was that I used to feel that I used to do like code golf kind of stuff occasionally, like trying to make programs that were kind of small and especially like weird. Um, I haven't done that in ages, but I just went to the that Code Golf website where folks are doing that online kind of recently, and I tried making a small thing, which was kind of fun. But it's just been ages since I really took that seriously. I was never that into making things like super small most of the time. I was more interested in like obfuscated weird code, but um, sometimes it's fun just to take something which is kind of weird and make it specifically into a game, I guess. I feel like my code quality, I feel like the way that I write my code has changed like a lot over the years. Um, I think when I was younger, I liked the sound of my own thoughts a little bit more, and I would just write these long, elaborate comments about my thought process and whatever. And sometimes I still do that kind of thing um, when it seems like it actually has a point. But I feel like more often nowadays, I will try to like keep things a bit more terse and only like actually write like paragraphs when it seems like there's an architectural discussion to be had, not just like to hear myself talk. Aiden's wondering if this is a hobby for me. I don't know what a hobby is. A hobby is, I don't know, a thing that you do to spend time that isn't actually useful. So I guess by that definition, yeah, sure, this is a hobby. It's mostly just a thing that I've always done. I've done it for various reasons, but I've always done computering. Like, it was a thing that I did when I was really young because it was basically all I had, and then I turned it into, I don't know, like various kinds of jobs. I wrote code for myself, I wrote code for other people, I did hardware for myself and for other people, but um, it doesn't feel like a hobby. I mean, a hobby to me is like a model train or a video game or Legos or something. This feels like just a thing that people do that I should keep doing because it's all I have at this point. Yeah, I'm very suspicious of anybody who thinks that computers are still a hobby given the state of the world in 2020. Hmm. Oh, that's right. I encountered different kernels that have a different idea of whether this is actually readable, so I don't want to do that comparison. Aiden thinks that I enjoy it, but I just don't know that I enjoy it because it's tedious. Um, that would have described my feelings maybe 20 years ago, but I feel like that's not how I currently feel about programming. I feel like computers are more like a curse that I have to share with all of you because I'm just terrible like that. Oh, hey, nice to see you, Ken. It's been a while. I'm trying to do just a little coding stream here and keep the camera and the cat mostly. Tuco. Oh, Tuco. I don't think he's serious about wanting the door open right now. But it was a good attempt. Oh, sorry. Tuco. You do want to be over here, don't you? You're such a weirdo. The thing where you pick up a cat that doesn't want to move and they just dig their claws into the carpet. Tuco just wants to be over here right now. Okay, Tuco. Tuco wants more coldness. There we go. Yeah, that's not gonna work. I think I'm gonna have to put the camera all the way back over here. Actually, this would be a good chance to do the thing I was gonna do earlier where I set up the alternate camera. Do I have that ready? Oh yeah, I have this labeled cat food. Because it used to be the cat food camera. Is that wire having problems? I moved the camera and now it's broken. Sorry. This was actually just the network cable coming loose. How long does it take for these cameras to boot? Oh, Tuco, are you done with that now? There it is. Yay, that's not a bad cat cam. It's a bit laggy, but that'll be alright. Oh. Oh, I got some glitches occasionally. That's cool. Is this a hardware or a software problem? Let's try the software video codec. There we go. That's not bad. It's a little cold, but Tuco seems happy. Yeah, the problem is definitely computers. Yeah, the black on black terminal was a little hard to read, sorry. Okay, can we do more coding now? That's right, I think I do need a V pointer that is page aligned. I guess this is where my wrappers around ABI page round down and page round up could go. In fact, it would be cool if I just didn't even need those wrappers in ABI land. this file is supposed to have like basically just low-level platform-specific definitions in it. So it would make sense for this to have information about the page size, but not necessarily the functions that actually do the alignment. Gosh, and it seems like page offset should ideally be like a method on the v-pointer. This file doesn't even know about v-pointer though. V-pointer is a protocol type, and the ABI I've been trying to keep to very low-level types. It's just mostly stuff that's built into Rust. In fact, I think entirely just Rust built-in types. I could make this depend on the ABI, but like I've been trying, or on the protocol, but I've been trying to keep those separate. Oh, where do I use page offset? Mostly in the L floater. And process mem, I guess. What is process mem doing with this? Yeah, just this. So like, yeah, I don't think we need that. I mean, one way that I could express this fairly idiomatically or whatever without adding types or adding any methods to vpointer would just be to have, you round it to vpage and then subtract the vpointer from the vpage, but that seems like a lot of work for something that should just be a single AND operation. Oh, maybe I can have these be private functions for now, and then make them take vpointer. Gosh, it's also tempting to just move the page stuff into the protocol specific ABI and just actually add that to vpointer. Oh yeah, that's some good questions about Rust. Yeah, so there's a question about whether Rust traits are kind of like interfaces in C#. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I feel like traits they're not quite exactly like anything else I've seen in any other language. I think there's a bunch of Haskell influence, but I don't really know Haskell at all. They are very similar to something like interfaces in C++ or COM or C# or Java, but they're really powerful. Like you can get this level of decoupling between the traits and the rest of your types that I haven't really seen in other languages. Like one way to add new stuff to vpointer here, for example, would be from anywhere, I could just define my own trait that has some methods that I want, and then implement that trait for vpointer. And then anywhere that has has used that trait. Anywhere that trait is visible, I get access to those methods. So if I wanted to decompose this problem like that, I could create like an ABI specific vPointer trait or something. I just don't feel like decomposing the problem into that many separate pieces because I don't think that really helps in this case. Yeah, Rust is a really fun language so far. I've been really into it. I mean, computers in general are kind of hard to like, but I feel like Rust is like a relatively bright spot. I still get so frustrated with how it doesn't seem like anybody really cares like what we're actually doing with all this technology. We just kind of want to keep piling it on and having more technology and like the humanism behind it all seems to be hard to find. Oh, maybe I do want to add that to the protocol. So the protocol is a separate crate because it's also shared with the higher level code. Right now, the only protocol ABI dependencies we have here are stuff like the register format and the system call format. But page size seems like a perfectly okay thing to put in there. Is the cat in a prison? No, it's just my screen door. He seems to like it inside, though. He just likes the view of outside. Hmm. Uh. Can this depend on the other ABI? I don't like that. I guess I could give vPointer some like offset and rounding methods that don't assume the page size and then get the page size from the ABI header. Maybe I really do just want page size in the lower level ABI header, and then like task size and stuff in the higher level ABI header. Ugh. I think I can kill this allow dead code. I had this before because this file was used in multiple builds, and so one compiler wouldn't necessarily know about all the uses, but that is not how it's set up anymore. This is nicer, I guess. Dependencies are slightly more complicated, but a lot of the code is going to get nicer. Oh, these are all pub. I don't know if anybody else can hear that, but there's a bunch of construction noises coming from like pretty nearby. I wonder if that's what Suko's partly interested in, or if it's all birds. Oh, this is not a v-pointer. Silly me. This is actually just a usize. Different spot now, Took. Lots of bird sounds outside. Now, is this built out of a mem range, or is it built out of a range of V pages? I think I want that to be a new type either way, so whatever. I think this is fine. I think because vpage has deref to pointer, vpointer, and vpointer has add, I can do add on vpage and get a vpointer. I don't know if that'll actually work though, because deref gives me a reference, and I don't know that I have an add for references. I probably should have an add for references. Can I do that? Because I can't return a reference to vpointer, but I think I can return a vpointer there. Let's see what the compiler tells me to fix next. Hmm. Gotcha. I don't know if this matters for types that are copy. Oh yeah, so there's a question from chat. How similar is this language to C or C++? Um, it's like broadly similar in that it's designed for similar classes of problems to C and C++. So it's really good for stuff where the efficiency and the interoperability with other like systems level software is more important than just like raw development speed. Rust is going to be slower to code in than something like JavaScript or Python, but it's going to give you a significantly higher performance ceiling. You can write code in Rust that's just as fast as C++ code, often faster. And you can use Rust in a lot of these kind of resource constrained or otherwise environmentally constrained places, like inside of kernels or in embedded systems. So it can be used for a lot of the same stuff as C or C++. Language-wise, I would say it's a lot more complicated than C, but less complicated than C++. Yeah, this file doesn't even parse still. What were we doing here? I don't know what I'm going to replace this with, but I don't really want it. Let's see how I like constructing this structure. I might make a constructor for it. I don't even know if may share should be in this structure. That is a generic property of memory mappings, but like in the elf loader, I'm never going to want to make shared mappings. Oh yeah, I don't need a definition for memrange. Hey Tuco, do you want to be over here again? Oh, it sounds like lots of birds. Coming out again. I don't know where he wants to be. Now Tuco's sitting right behind the camera. I think he's staying back because he doesn't want the birds to see him. Sounds like a bunch of crows circling around. think we care about section or segment alignment here, but maybe we will later. Right now, everything is just page aligned. Tuco's way over here now. I don't know about the boundary between these two mem files. This one was supposed to be utilities for working with remote memory. The other one turned into like memory types. The split is not great right now. I feel like the mapping code should go in this remote module, though. One way that I'd been dividing this before was stuff that didn't need any sort of additional setup beyond a stopped task could go in here. That still seems to be the case. Whereas a lot of the memory mapping stuff needs these higher level utilities like the trampoline and the file management and the scratchpad buffer. Scratchpad buffer doesn't do much on its own. It just gives you some allocated memory. The temp file code is where we get stuff like mem0, because we need a temp file to do a mem0. And memmove. feel like mapping should go in file because it is basically a file operation, even though you could use this for anonymous mappings. Oh, hey, you coming back, Tuco? Tuco smells so good. He's standing right behind the camera again. Annie. What do you want now? I think he's just really interested in those birds. Still losing a few video packets there. I should really get the SDI cat cam set up. SDI is always more reliable for this sort of thing than IP video, it seems. Oh. Tuco's making good chirpy bird noises. Oh, there's the birds. Gosh, they're just flying all over. That's cool. It's funny, Tuco goes back to his little heated pad under the desk, and so it seems like he's not using the open door anymore, but then as soon as I close the door, he comes back over here like, what are you doing? Open that again. Tuco. Now he's on the desk. Is that a good spot, Tuke? Both talking at the same time here. Bonk. Is this a good place to watch the storm of birds? Now Tuco's fully in my chair. This is all we needed, right? Gosh, Tuco's so good. Oh, why are we blurry? I don't know if many of the bird noises are coming through. Tuco's certainly intrigued, though. I guess I could point this other microphone out the window. Oh, let's just have a giant microphone hovering in the frame, why not? Well, I didn't intentionally turn off that video. I think the stream was just stalled. Maybe I pulled out the cable again. Oh, there it is. Are you coming out again? See, if I was trying to optimize for some arbitrary measure of productivity that involved code quality or code output or whatever, I don't think it would be helped by spending so much time paying attention to Tuco, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Whoa. Oh my. Oh, there's so many birds. I don't know if I can actually get the sky on camera from here. The sky is just full of birds. Oops. Can see a little bit of the birds as they fly through that tiny patch of sky. Are they coming back? I'm glad that there are some good birds here for Tuco. That was one of his favorite things at the last place we lived. They're still super loud. Those are some great birds. Yeah, I can't see them, but I can certainly hear them. Yeah, the outside world is very close to the green screen in this setup. And the coldness. Map location. I feel like map location wasn't a terrible idea. Feel bad about using usize for things that are not pointers but are almost pointers. I could certainly have map location be an actual start address, but I don't think that's usually how I'm going to be using this. Sure. Almost pointer, does that mean an index into a buffer? I mean, in this case, it's really a difference between two pointers, so it would be like the pointer diff t. But I mean, I guess I meant that statement kind of generically. I've got a bunch of these places where I've got something that is not quite a pointer, like the address of a page or the offset into a page or something, where I want to use the same data type as a pointer, but it definitely is not a pointer on its own. So it's very similar to what you'd usually use usize for in Rust. It's just I might theoretically want a distinction between the local pointer size and the emulated machine's pointer size if I wanted to do 32-bit user space, for example. But I don't think I do. I don't think I want 32-bit user space in this project. Are you done, Tuco? Are you cold? He seems slightly cold. Can I close the door? Oops. Are you heading right back over there? Oh, what is he doing over there? Oh, maybe he's looking out the other window. Or trying to. Oh yeah, there's a question about whether this current project has a home on the internet. I've got a spot for it on crates.io and GitHub. Um, I'll open that up in just a sec. Oh, is that where you want to hang out, Tuco? This is the project so far. GitHub scanlime bandsocks. It is a small sandbox that doesn't actually do anything useful yet, but will run some extremely simple programs like BusyBox and parts of the dynamic linker. Tuco wants the door open again. You're not gonna sit over there though, huh? We're gonna keep going back and forth where Tuco keeps coming over here and getting me to open the door, and then I close it once he goes back. Okay, trampoline, segment, map location, v-pointer result, that seems fine. don't like this map location thing. Also, I don't know how this should respond if there's a segment defined that has a different page offset in the file versus in memory. That should not be allowed. But how should that actually fail? Like, I think in many cases we just end up passing that all the way to mmap where it fails inside mmap, which is not great, but probably fine. The edge case that I'm interested in, though, are these arbitrary mappings where we want to map something. We don't care where it goes, but we need the alignment to be correct. And then we want to get the actual mapped address returned. The other thing that I don't like about this interface, besides the whole map location thing, is that there's actually multiple things we need here. There's probably going to need to be like a mapped segment data type for this, since we do need the actual mmap pointer for unmapping it. I mean, we could just assume that this is, like, if you round this down, you always get the actual mmap pointer. It's better not to store redundant data. More opportunities for it to be incorrect. Oh, to go. That's the old file mapping code in the old loader that I deleted. It's halfway hidden behind Tuco. So we only had fixed mappings, which is one of the things I'm trying to change here. All right, in this example, this is just bin ls on a glibc system. The offset and virtual address are often the same, since this is a dynamic binary that starts at, is it actually 0? Oh, we get a load of 0 after the interp. That's interesting. So yeah, these often are the same, but they actually do diverge down here. There's like a 1-page difference somewhere. But the thing that is actually required, as far as I know, is the page offsets match, because you can't use the memory management hardware to resolve that difference. I don't actually know how Linux fails in that case. It probably just fails the entire exec, but it might be worth looking at exactly how it does that. Oh, to go. Too good. You just want this open. Again. Let's see if the other camera will actually load. I like how reliable the SDI cameras are. Oh, there it goes. Okay, let's see how Linux handles this. Oh, right, I have graphical Emacs here. Don't need to use my text console for absolutely everything. Cache. Cache. Elf. Right, so this is like Linux's equivalent of this page rounding stuff we're doing. They get the address from the elf program header and then back the start address to the previous page boundary. Cache is really cold on this computer. All the source code's actually on a file server, so it's probably decrypting metadata. Just paging everything in. Now my window manager is paged out. Sure are a lot of birds happening. I wonder if I can get them on screen again. Oh wow. I've got to get this on screen. This is cool. I know. This tripod's on a dolly that's kind of big to get near the door. Oh, there's a few birds. Wow. Oh, Tuk Tuk. Maybe Tuco would prefer it if I turned off the lights in here so he could see outside better. Is that better, Tuk? The green screen is so dull now. No, I think he's already bored. Okay. No? Brown. Lovely dull green square on the wall now. Wow. Oh, what a cat. Getting so much programming done with all this going back and forth between doors. Meow. Huh? Meow. Yes. You might go out there now. Well, I think Tuco wants to explore out there, and I should give him and my housemate some privacy. Alright, well, maybe I could use some programming. Page start. Where are you, page start? Oh, and 2 goes back. Hey, Fuzzo. Oh, page start was just in that same file. Oh, and what is elf min align? What is exec page size? Okay, okay, Tuco wants the door open again. Hey, honey. Trying not to open the back door and the other door at the same time, just to keep the warm air indoors. Tuco, is this what you want? Yes? No? Tuco, you're so weird. Oh, you want out that door again? I feel like Tuco's just testing to make sure that he has continuous access to all the places. Honey, I'll open that if you really want to, but not right away. Definitely not going to open that door. That door leads to an unfinished house project that has a gaping hole related. I wouldn't want him getting into the attic crawl space. Tuco. Okay. Alright, Tuke. Brr. Elf exec page size, huh? That's interesting. Why is it 8K on OpenRisk? So like page size is more complicated on systems that have huge page support, and maybe this is to bypass the complexities there and to just pin it at a specific value. Oh, Tuco, you're back already. Do you want the door open? Huh. Tuke. Oh, gosh. This is getting a little old. Oh, Tuke. Maybe this would be an okay time to wrap up the stream. need a really quick restroom break, but maybe if I leave the camera on Tuco, he'll stay there. Probably not, but I'll be right back. Gosh, that didn't last long, did it? Well. Oh, Tuco, you're back. Gosh, this little guy just follows me around everywhere. I go to the bathroom, and he comes into the bathroom also, and he uses this litter box. It's funny. He seems to do that a lot. Like, sometimes he'll meow a bunch, and I won't have time to hang out. And then after he gives up meowing, I'll hear him use the bathroom. Like, he almost wanted company doing that. And then often when I go to the bathroom, he will just come in there and join me. He's super weird. Now he's just wandering back and forth. Oh, Duke. Oh, I'm mostly losing steam for this stream, but it would be nice to know how Linux fails when we don't have matching offsets in the ELF segment. Maybe we can figure that out just by reading the source code. Could also try making an ELF file that has that property and see what happens. But that might be harder to debug. So nobody's page aligning the offset here. I think that's just relying on vmmap to fail, but let's find out. Presumably this is not a wrapper, this is like the actual file. What are you doing, Tuco? Are you... He's looking like he's trying to jump off of somewhere high now. Oh gosh. Now he's knocking fake plants off the window. That's an util, huh? He wants the door open again. Okay, boy. Try and turn the camera back on, but it's being laggy again. He's so fickle. He just wants to make sure that he can get over there, and then he's gonna mostly hang out elsewhere. Mutual pooping. Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. Arnie's wondering if Tuco's ever been an outdoor cat. No, as far as I know, he's always been an indoor cat. He's gotten outside accidentally a couple times and given me a great fright, and I've taken him outside on a harness a bunch of times, and he seems to be like a bit skittish about the outdoors, but of course ever curious. And at this time, he's pretty used to being an indoor cat. Oh, Tuco's sitting right behind the camera again. No? It's not too bad. Tuco in night vision mode. Hmm. So this is a wraparound check. And then what is this? Offset in page. Okay, that is actually just the... Really, that's the complement of the page mask, so this is just the page, the bits that aren't the offset. I was expecting this to be checking that it's page aligned, which is mostly what I'm seeing, except I don't know why this is the complement. That is a tilde, right? And not a minus. Yes. So what I'm working with is I think page mask is just like 4095. It's just the low bits, but maybe that's wrong. Maybe they define page mask to be the high bits. Oh yeah, maybe they define page mask to be the high bits. In that case, I just shouldn't use that name because that's confusing. Yeah, so Linux uses that to refer to the high bits. I've always seen this convention used to refer to the low bits. That's just weird. Okay. Well, that answers the question. It looks like Linux gets all the way to vmmap and then throws an enval, which is great. That's like pretty much what I'd expect. I should change my page mask constant. Protocol ABI. Okay, well, maybe that's a good stopping point. I can keep the stream from dragging on forever. We can have a good mix of playing with the cat and staring at the code without getting too demotivated or losing every single viewer. But yeah, I'll try to do this pretty regularly. Sorry I had a couple of days away, but I'm gonna try to just like not worry about, like, there are a bunch of reasons. I always have reasons not to stream. It's like, oh, this content isn't interesting, or I'm just wasting archive space, or this is just going to make my streams as a whole less interesting because this is worse than average. I've got all these reasons why I don't stream, and I should mostly ignore those because it's mostly good. Trying to power up is saying drag it. You just want this to be super long? I could try to hit a 6-hour stream. Just another 3 hours. 2.5. I mean, I still feel like I have trouble figuring out what I'm actually doing here. Like, people seem to like the projects, but I'm also still just struggling to find the broader context for what I'm doing, and it feels like I don't know, the stuff we've been doing occasionally on decentralized tech, that feels more useful. But like, I don't know. I still just often have doubts that anything is actually worthwhile. I got one comment that it's cool when I dig into Linux source code. Yeah, that could be interesting. I mean, I don't feel like Linux is an especially clean example of programming, but it is nice to actually see the real thing that people are using on so many devices. Like, personally, I find it much more interesting to make a new OS level kind of thing than to just poke at Linux, because I feel like Linux is... I mean, this kind of goes back to the larger problem. I feel like the very large scale problem here is that just a lot of the people who I think enjoy my content seem to enjoy the, like, kind of technical exploration aspect of it. And I can appreciate that, but I also feel like personally that's an area I'm super burned out on. Like I'm just like super jaded at that. Like I don't see the technology as being interesting to explore for its own sake anymore, really. I just like I want everybody to think about the context that the technology is in, and I feel like with that context, so much of it is actually just super depressing. Oh wow, one comment that they're not here for the cat. That's a bold statement. That's an extra spicy take. Hmm. So I feel like segment should enforce that property that the page offsets everywhere are the same. Hmm. Oh, gotcha. So I guess the low level programming was more interesting than the Linux specifically. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm always pretty into low level programming. I feel like I don't know. Part of it is just this feeling of satisfaction when there's at least some large portion of the stack of components that you're using that you can like envision the interactions between. So like I like it when things are sort of compact enough that those stacks of components are like objects that you can hold in your head relatively easily. I feel like so much of computing is just like so complicated that like, you're writing like JavaScript code and you have no idea what V8 is doing to it in memory, and then, you know, it's all just stuck on one thread, and then everybody else is doing parallelism kind of under the hood where you can't see it as readily, and there's just so many layers of complexity, which I kind of like. I kind of like the stack aspect of it, but um, I guess that's the thing. Like, I don't only like low level programming. I like the higher level stuff too, but um, I feel like moving up and down the stack gives you a pretty interesting view of what's going on. So I like projects that encompass multiple levels of abstraction. So like this sandbox thing has a bunch of low level stuff in it, but it also has some much higher level code, and I like the variety there. Burning cycles for heat. That's like basically all of computing, right? Like computers are all just fancy space heaters. Oh, speaking of space heater, I'm letting all the warm air out. I wonder if I can close this door without Tuco objecting. Burning all the natural gas to keep my cat warm. Ah, well, that's nice. I feel that's a little bit nicer of a note than the beginning of the stream. The beginning of the stream was very like, everything is terrible, and now it's more, everything's terrible, but cats are great. Also, I appreciate all of you. It's nice to have some folks to hang out with and do projecting, and um, yeah, I mean, let me know what you want out of this experience because I'm really here for you, and I'll try to do more interesting low level stuff. I don't think that'll be hard. And I'll try to do more of like a regular schedule. I know I keep saying this and I keep failing at it. Um, yeah, I'm not really sure what the ticket is to make the regular streaming schedule work out, but I'll keep trying. Oh, thanks for the positive comments, everyone. Ah, oh, Tuco. Can we get a high-res cat cam over here? Oh, yeah. This cat cam is very high-res. It's actually 4K, but I don't have any way to stream it at 4K. Oh, yeah, Tuco is super cozy right now. 8K 120 fps Tuco cam. Yeah, I'd have no way to stream that, and I'm sure the camera would overheat, but it'd be an interesting experiment. I can record 1080p 120 fps to SD card, and I can record 4K 60, I think, to SD card. Definitely 4K 30, but I think I can also do 4K 60. But the streaming is mostly going through this video capture card that maxes out at 1080i right now. It can do 1080p 30 or 1080i 60, which is why my computer screen is deinterlaced. Well, have a good evening, everyone. I'll see you on the next stream. And a special thanks to everyone who drops by and says hi on the stream. And a special thanks to everyone everyone who chips into the stream every month on Patreon. That's helping me pay the heat and bill, keep the lights on, pay my health insurance. So all the things that help us exist in capitalism. So thank you. And I will see you next time. Have a good day.